That gavel is always just a little bit sharper than I think it is when I pick it up. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. This is the August 1st, can you believe it? Meeting of the Yakima School District Board of Directors. We have several folks here to speak with us today, and so we are video streaming and live streaming. So if you are so inclined and want to watch this back, you can check out the district's website probably the beginning of next week, and it will be on our YouTube channel. So there's a link on the website, and you can also go to YouTube and type in Yakima School District Board of Directors, and I think it'll come up that way as well. And we are also live streaming. So there may be folks out there who are in the community and watching from home or someplace comfortable. So we will get started with a Pledge of Allegiance. And Raymond, would you like to say the pledge? Kids aren't in school right now, so we don't have kids. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And since I lost the agenda and have to get back in, Barb, can you remind me, Graciela was going to do the land acknowledgement? And the character word. Okay. Norm, could you do that for us today? Okay. The character word is on the screen, and it's also attached in board docs.
Is it attached to the Pledge of Allegiance?
No. Yeah, I think so.
I'll do that first.
Okay.
Okay,
Find it.
character word for August is also the month of my word. It is tenacious, persistent in maintaining, adhering to, or seeking something valued or desired.
Oh, thank you. Por tenaz en español, persistente en mantener, adherirse o buscar algo valorado o deseado.
Nice.
And
Thank
the
you.
trait is responsibility and accountability.
And the land acknowledgement.
Yes. And before I read the land acknowledgement, I'm going to do a brief commercial thing here regarding some of my summer reading this summer. And it's called The Indigenous Peoples' History of the United States. And it's a scholarly work written from the point of view of the peoples that were on this land before we were on this land. And it's a very, very interesting reading.
Nice.
A lot of history that did not appear in history books that I had in school.
I think that any of us had.
Okay, the Yakima Land Acknowledgement. Today, the schools of the Yakima School District rest in the ancestral lands of the 14 confederated tribes and bands of the Yakima Nation. The people of Yakima Nation inhabited more than 12 million acres across Adams, Benton, Chelan, Douglas, Franklin, Grant, Kittitas, Klickitat, and Yakima counties. Today, we honor these native peoples who are tied to the land through history, legends, and culture. We acknowledge their descendants who live in the world today. We thank the caretakers of this land who have lived here and continue to live here since time immemorial. An acknowledgement is a simple, powerful way to show respect and a step toward correcting the stories and practices that erase Indigenous peoples' history and culture. It also honors the truth. As a school district, we will continue to build upon our relations with the Yakima Nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Norm. Barb, I realized that after the meeting last week that I didn't have you call roll. And I know that we're all here in person, but I think for purposes of just record keeping, if you could call roll, please.
Director Beckett,
I am here.
Director Walker,
I'm here.
Director Navarro Jr.,
Present.
President Rice,
Here.
and it looks like President or Vice President Villanueva is not.
I've not heard from her.
I have not either.
So I don't know if she told me and I forgot, which is entirely possible. But maybe she'll just sneak in after a bit. Okay, the next item on the agenda are reports, items of interest to the board. The first part of that is reports from board members. And do any board members have anything that they'd like to share with the rest of us before we get into the list? Okay. We have the State School Directors General Assembly coming up the 1st of October, I think. The end of September, 1st of October. And registration opens today. So I'm wondering if any of you are interested in attending Legislative Assembly. It is virtual this year. It is also free. So if you're interested, we do need to get you registered, even though it's free.
Well, I would be attending as a member
Yeah,
of the
you're,
Resolutions Committee.
and I'll be there as a member of the Legislative Committee. So,
I'm not a member of any committee, but I would follow along.
okay, you can if you like. We can have Barb register you. Okay. It's an all day. I don't know. It starts 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning on that Saturday, and it goes until usually 3-ish. Sometimes they get done sooner, and sometimes they get done later. Depends on how engaged people are in the process. Okay. Raymond, are you interested?
I would be.
Okay. All right. Okay. The next thing is to finalize the board retreat agenda. You all have that? Or is it's part of the, Barb, do they have that? I think that was emailed out last week. Is that correct? Okay. All right. This is for next Monday here in this room, starting at 8 a.m. We have a call to order, Pledge of Allegiance, land acknowledgement. Who would like to do either of those?
I'd be happy to lead the pledge.
Okay. Which of you would like to do the land acknowledgement? Trifecta. Thank you. Then we have an hour with the Center for Educational Excellence, John Steach, who's the former superintendent in Evergreen. Yeah. He's been with us in the past to talk about the CEE Summative Data Report. And then, just like many of our students, we're doing a field trip. We're going to, at 9 o'clock, board a bus and go to Barge Lincoln from this building to tour the mini pitch and the Earth Gen, that nature walk pathway thing that they put together last spring. Then we'll get back on the bus and go to Adams, where we're going to visit a classroom or two, and then return to Central Services. So that'll be 2 hours, and then take a 15-minute break when we get back.
President Rice,
Yes.
And the primary purpose of that also is because it's the first day of Kinder Academy. So we'll be able to see our littles in the district and how they're starting off.
Thank you. At 11:15, we start with required training that the state legislature has determined that we are required to take, and that is equity training that WSDA has put together. Tricia Lubach and Scott, I forget his last name, Dahlquist, are trainers with WSDA, and Aaron Jones, we know Aaron from many opportunities with us, and they all will be here to partake and participate in that equity training.
I'd like to add one comment. I had the opportunity to field test some of the sessions and lessons in that training, so I'm think you will enjoy the process.
Nice, thank you. Looking forward to it. And then we'll have a quick lunch and continue the training. It's a 4-hour training. We'll continue the training until 2:15, then a break, and then some other things that we have talked about wanting to go over in the retreat, reviewing our policy governance calendar, reviewing our board meeting calendar, looking at other board training requirements. There are 3 trainings that, where's Jenny? Jenny, WASA or WASDA? Really? And are those all required of board members?
No, they are not. But we are launching into one of our 3 key strategies, professional learning communities. So we are a part of the WASA Solution Tree cohort across our state. And it is a 3-year training model for leadership to be able to equitably support our students through the implementation of PLCs. There are 3 specific workshops for boards to participate, to really have an understanding of how PLCs impact from the boardroom to the classroom. So we would really like to have the board participate in those.
Okay, good. Thank you for that clarification. So you might want to note those on your personal calendars, and I'm sure Barb will add those to our calendars through Gmail or the district calendaring.
Excuse me, are we going to have a discussion whether or not the board wants to do that, or are those already been scheduled for us? Or
Well, I think, are these the dates for those trainings?
I would say that that's the conversation that we're going to have at the actual
Yes.
retreat. So
Okay.
we could
Okay,
table
Right.
that for now, if that's okay.
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 Yeah, I'd rather have a discussion, learn more about what that is all about. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then you may have seen on your calendars, we are having a joint meeting with the Yakima City Council on the 29th of this month. Our regular board meeting will be from like 3:30 to 4:30. It's a Monday. And then the meeting with City Council starts at 5. And I'm not sure how long. I mean, usually they're an hour and a half or so. It's what they've been in the past. I don't know it's been a while since we've done it, because the last time we did this, it was pre-COVID. So just make sure that you've noted that on your calendar. And then the enrollment discussions that we asked to have, and then any other action items that the policy governance discussion for 3.1, 3.5, and 3.8, which is what we've asked to have a discussion about, and then action items as needed. The one thing that's not on here is the board self-assessment. I'm working on pulling all of that information together and hope to have that finished within the next day or 2. And we could do that self-assessment at the end of any one of our Monday meetings that we have this month. Is there are there any questions that you have about this agenda, or is there anything that you'd like to, I hesitate to say see added, because I think it's a pretty full agenda. But we could start a new list, I suppose.
Well, I see that the agenda does not include, or was, this item was taken off, was the equity audit. I believe we had talked about having a discussion on that
Okay,
item, so, and I don't see it there. But it seems like, as you mentioned, there's already a lot of items, so I would prefer, and it's just me, that we have a separate meeting for that, or
okay,
time allotted for that, because that's going to take some time to really dig into that 60-some page report.
okay.
And so I would prefer to do that, but I just noticed
As
it
a
was
separate
omitted.
meeting as opposed to tagged on to a Monday meeting?
Yes,
Okay,
or a work or a study session or whatever.
okay. All right, I've added that to the list. Anything else? Barb?
We did discuss that last time we had our meeting, and we decided to put it on an equity session on August 22nd on that board meeting, since we knew it would be longer than the retreat. So we have it on our agenda for August 22nd to review that.
Okay. Is that acceptable, Raymond? Okay, good. August 22nd. Yeah. Okay. Good, good. Anything else, Ryan?
Just two quick questions.
Uh-huh.
The board self-assessment, are past assessments available in the history portion of board docs for us to see what that looked like in the past?
That's a good question. I think I have them on my computer.
So then
Maybe not this one, but the one at home.
maybe I'll just email you and see if I can kind of get
Yeah.
tracked on that before that. Second thing is, I'm looking forward to the board retreat. I also want to be very honest and upfront with everyone in advance that I am unable to ignore my clients for an entire full business day on a Monday after all of the work that happens on a weekend in real estate. So I want to apologize in advance. If I have to step out to respond to a call or a text or an email, I will do so as quietly and as inobtrusively as possible. But I don't want anyone to think that I'm being dismissive by all of a sudden walking into the room with my cell phone in my hand.
Storming out with your
I'm
cell
not
phone in
storming
hand.
out. I'm just trying to take care of business, and I will be right back. So
Thank
that's all I
you.
have to say. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Do you have anything, any other thing that you'd like to talk about here? Okay. I'll follow up with Graciela and see if she has anything. All right. And then just a quick note, the handbook, legislative handbook for General Assembly is supposed to be going live today sometime. We should be getting an email with a link to that handbook. I was told by close of business today, which is kind of just around the corner, and I haven't seen it in my inbox yet. But regardless, I would ask that you take a look at the proposals that we'll have before us at Legislative Assembly. In 2 weeks, from the 15th to the 19th, there will be an amendment window. So if you wanted to make or suggest amendments for particular proposals, we will have time probably at our meeting on the 15th to talk about any amendments that you would like to propose. And then WASDA will, if there are amendments, and you never know, sometimes there are, sometimes there aren't. But if there are amendments, there's a little process that they go through that next week where they get together with staff and whoever the proposer is and the original author of the proposal, I think, and talk about the proposed amendment. And then the revised handbook will be out by the end of the month. So we'll have a whole month to discuss it as a board. If you wanted to, if you have questions about any of the proposals or need a little bit of clarification about something that you read, we'll have an opportunity to do that. Okay? All right, and that's all I have, I think. Thank you, Barb. Next, we have the superintendent's report. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, President Rice. I'll be brief. I first will need to cancel the spotlight, Andy, for any board member that's going to leave a session, so you can rest easy. We won't turn that on you. We'll let you sneak out. That's right, spotlight, cancel it. We have just 3 items to update you on. The first being the new hire orientation, which began today in earnest. We had 99 teachers or certificated members, also had some counselors, psychs, other positions, but 99 new individuals coming into our district. Around 67% were new hires into the district, from my understanding in talking to those that were in charge of opening the session. So that was today at the Professional Development Center. We're really excited about that opportunity. As you're well aware as a board, our Dr. Rodriguez has worked extremely hard and intentionally with our teaching and learning department, and has identified 3 levers, of which professional learning communities, which we'll talk about next week, are a major lever. But also we have induction, coaching, and mentoring, which started again today with those new teachers coming in, and then the third being principal supervision. Speaking about that principal supervision piece, where we want our principals to focus on instructional leadership and really take away that managerial piece, so to speak, but really see our teachers increase their abilities in the classroom. We started in earnest on that in June 22nd, 23rd, and 24th with our leadership closeout for the year. And then this week, at the end of the week, August 3rd through the 5th, we are meeting with our administrative team, our executive leadership team, around the August Administration Academy. So we're excited about that. That will take place at the Yakima YBC, their convention center, which is big enough to accommodate us all. So we'll have 3 days there this week, August 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So if a board member would like to attend that, we would love to have anyone who is able to drop by or spend some time with us as we focus on our improvement as leaders across the system. And then we have the district kickoff, which is scheduled for August 22nd at the Yakima Convention Center. And again, that will be a wonderful opportunity to engage in a start of the year with our entire staff. That's been organized by our teaching and learning department. And I'll see if Jenny would like to add anything to all that I've shared thus far.
We are super excited about having an opening day event. I'm told this historically occurred in Yakima, but hasn't for quite some time. And so we are inviting all Yakima School District staff, and obviously would love to have any board members that would like to join us. There will be the traditional fare of all of our insurers and supports, but also community agencies will be there represented for our faculty and staff to learn more about the systems that are in place in our community to support our staff as well as our students and families. And we're really excited. We're going to have t-shirts. So if you come, you get a t-shirt and they say Somos Uno on them. We're pretty excited about that. Been working with Kirsten Fitterer on that. And in addition to that, we're going to have keynote speakers. So our very own Superintendent, Dr. Trevor Green, will be speaking beginning at 9:30. And following him, we have Dr. Luis Cruz, who is a former principal, published author, solution tree speaker, who's going to come and give a keynote address to our entire staff about successful PLC implementation in a district that looks very much like Yakima School District. So he's very engaging and very inspiring. And we're super grateful that it worked out to bring him in for our staff.
What time does this start, Jenny?
We have the vendor fair and free breakfast is 7:30 to 9:30, and the keynote will run 9:30 to 11 a.m.
Okay. So you can be there for breakfast at 7:30. Not. or the speaking part starts at 9, right?
At 9:30.
9:30.
Yeah. So you want to be there just a little before so you can get your t-shirt and then make your way into the big hall for our speakers.
Okay. All right, and that's on the 22nd, right? Okay, Barb, could you add that to our calendars so we know what board members might be attending so that we can do a quorum notification if we need to? Okay, thank you. And let's not forget to include that in as part of our discussion for that WASA training that's on the agenda for next Monday, okay? All right, anything else, sir?
Nothing more?
Okay. All right. Next, we have on my agenda, it says State Auditors Stewardship Award presented by Pat McCarthy. Thank you for being here. Did
Yeah.
you make the drive over today? And you're going back today? We are. Oh, dear.
May I make a
Now
comment?
you know what it feels like when we have to go over to Olympia to testify.
Okay,
5
I see the green
minutes.
light. Yeah, well, I would say that normally it's a joy to come east of the mountains because it's sunny over here, but it was overcast today. So
We're thankful for the overcast,
I'm
actually.
sure you are. It's a little bit sunny on the west side and we're all dying because we don't like the sun so as much as you do. Yes, my name's Pat McCarthy and I'm your Washington State Auditor. And I have brought with me a couple people, a few people, not a couple, few. So I'd like you to wave your hand or stand up. But one of my deputies, Carrie Rooney, is here. And
Welcome,
then
Carrie.
the Director of State Audits, Kelly Collins, is here.
Thank you for being here, Kelly.
And then two people you might know, which would be Ann Strand, who is the manager of
Mhm.
Team Yakima, we call it, that's located here. Did you wave, Ann? You did. And Nada Flores, who's here, who does your audits.
Thank
And
you
you
all
can
for
thank
being
those
here.
two ladies behind me in the back who recommended you for this award. Now, let me tell you, these aren't awards we give out frequently. These are awards that are very special. We have about close to 2,400 governments we audit in Washington State. We have a great legacy in the state of Washington of auditing all of government, whether you're local, from your smallest special purpose district to counties, to cities, and to all state agencies. So government is audited a lot, as your staff probably would conclude or agree to. But so we audit to give you, we illuminate what we see. We are an outside independent set of eyes that looks at your books and looks at how you do your audits or your financial work. And we tell the good, the bad, and the ugly. So that's our job, but we do it in a constructive manner. And I'm very proud of the team that we have here in Yakima. They do a great job. And I want you to know that I served 12 years on a school board for the
not know
Tacoma
that.
Public Schools, way back 100 years ago when my children, 4 of them, were in the public school system. And they are great. They've been very successful being graduates of a K-12 public education system. So I have sat in your seats for many years, and it's good. It's great work. It's good that you have good, solid school boards because it's not just your staff, your administration, your superintendent, but it's also incumbent upon school boards to also do that job of being the good policy setters that you are. And so you are lucky because this is our 3rd school district that we've given an award of this nature to. So it's not frequent. So be proud of yourselves. And like I like to say, nobody can tell the story of government like the state auditor's office, because as an outside set of eyes, we look with no bias to look and see to make sure you're spending the public's dollars appropriately and transparently. And so you should be very proud of your staff that help you accomplish that and yourselves. So I want to read you the letter that goes with this award. Dear Dr. Green, the State Auditor's Office recognizes Yakima School District's dedication to improving government. The Board of Directors, the Superintendent, and finance staff take a proactive approach in their accountability over public funds and promote the spirit of cooperation during the audit process. We would specifically like to highlight the work of Executive Director of Financial Services, Becky Nissen. Throughout our years working with Becky, she has continued to promote a collaborative relationship with the State Auditor's Office. Becky prepares the annual reports and consistently provides complete, organized, and timely supporting documentation. She responds to audit inquiries and requests promptly, which helps to facilitate a smooth audit process. Further, Becky and other district staff are quick to implement audit recommendations. It is particularly noteworthy that we have not seen a lapse in accountability from the district during the COVID-19 pandemic that we've all had to make it through. Even though it's not over yet, we're still adapting and adjusting. We have been impressed with how well the district has navigated these changes while maintaining strong internal controls. It is apparent that Becky and the entire district are committed to being good stewards of public funds and accountable to residents and stakeholders. The culture of accountability and continuous improvement extends beyond the district staff. As a longstanding executive director of financial services, Becky serves as a resource to her peers and was elected to the School District Accounting Advisory Committee. She and other district staff will also present a training on year-end financial reporting at the 2022 WASBO Business Managers Conference. It is apparent the district's management and staff understand the value of our audits, and they have fostered a positive and professional working relationship with the State Auditor's Office. Thank you for your hard work and dedication to the people of Washington State. Signed today, Pat McCarthy, State Auditor. Maybe if you would indulge me, if Becky could come
Absolutely.
up and say a few words. She's been here for a while.
And Becky, if you could introduce your colleagues that are here too, that'd be great.
I'm humbled and honored. Thank you, Pat. Monette Dennis, Director of Finance.
Wave, Monette.
Susan Fade, Accounting and Budgeting Director. Program Manager. And Jake Cooper, the Executive Director of Finance. Why not? I think I got everybody. Yeah.
And everybody that's in that office.
Yes, the whole entire team, for sure. Absolutely. The whole district. Yeah, I can say that this is the Yakima way. Since I've been here, this is the way we work with the auditor's office. And I don't expect that to change at all. The leadership sets the tone and we carry it out. Mhm.
Well, congratulations to all of you. In particular, you're leading this team too.
Yeah, thank you.
Becky, please extend our congratulations to your staff and the rest of the folks in the business office, and let them know how very much we appreciate all of their hard work. And congratulations on this award. It's very well deserved, I think.
No, thank you, President Rice, and I absolutely will extend the gratitude. And Anne and Nada, thank you so much. Like I said, I'm humbled, honored. I just feel like I did my job. So
It's something you can grow about because we're giving it to you.
yeah.
You're not telling it about yourselves.
We will take every advantage of that, believe me.
Please do. Please do. Can we?
Director, yes, could we take a photo?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Oh, sorry.
This goes to Dr. Green.
Yeah.
Get a picture taken, I would have dressed that. I would have worn a polo.
Okay, like a wedding.
Like a wedding.
Like a
Yes.
wedding.
Becky, do you want to sit next to Martha?
Sure.
So we can.
Of course.
But you
Oh,
move
I
the-
like
move the
this
water
chair.
bottle.
Martha.
They are
Can I place your
comfortable.
gavel?
Norm's shutting the background. All right, so we need.
Slide on over here. Slide on over here.
Give you that.
Okay.
I know, me too.
You want to hold this?
Like a wedding, like a
Come
wedding.
in here.
Okay.
I know.
Am I sitting down? Is that even it out? Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
1, 2, 3.
Okay. Dr. Green?
Yes.
They want me out of it. That's the, just stay here.
Well, one more with you in it.
Yeah.
One more.
1, 2, 3. Got it.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Thank you.
All right.
You got scissors?
Can we get a copy of the letter and we could post it in board docs for this agenda item?
Sure.
I'll talk. I'll
It's
talk.
in Trevor's.
Okay,
In
okay. I'll talk to Barb. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any public?
I kind of like this chair.
What? Yeah, go ahead.
So I would like to thank our state auditor, Pat McCarthy, for being here with your team. Thank you so much. I was going to call out your background, but I'd just like to share a little bit of that with our audience here today, both online and here in person. You were the 11th Washington State Auditor and became the first woman elected to the position when you took the oath of office in 2017. Congratulations. You were twice elected Pierce County Executive. She's also the first woman to hold that role. And over more than 30 years of her public service career, you've served as Pierce County Auditor and Deputy Auditor and Board President for the Tacoma School District. So I'm so glad that you were able to share that with our board and certainly walk in their shoes and understand this great service that they're offering for our district. And I personally want to thank our board for their confidence in our employees and me in allowing us to go a direction that put Becky in the role that she's in. And I love how she said, I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing the right thing. And that's because she has a wonderful work ethic, but more importantly, she has tremendous core values in all that she does. And it is something that resonates throughout our entire department. So to have you recognized is wonderful. And I'd also like to thank, I got to make sure that I get everybody here on the team, but it's Nada and is it, and Anne, yes, Anne and Nada, thank you so much. We know that you've been on several meetings with us, and I know that Director Walker is the school board member that is most often in those meetings. But thank you so much for nominating the work that has happened in our district. So it's tremendously easy to not do something like that and to let that just fall by the wayside. But that you took the time to make this happen is very special to all of us, and being recognized and have you come over from the other side of the mountains to recognize that freeway does go both ways, and to show that here, that's wonderful because often that doesn't happen. So thank you. And Becky, thank you for all of your tremendous work and that of your team.
Thank you, Trevor. Safe travels going home, please. All right. Thanks for coming over. Okay. Next on our agenda is the first opportunity for comments from the public on agenda items. We have no one signed up, so we'll just move right on. We have a special guest with us this afternoon to do a short presentation to us on the Justice Housing Project, right? Project? David Helseth.
Okay, thank you. David Helseth. I'm the Executive Director of Justice Housing Yakima, the nonprofit organization here in town that started 5-6 years ago, and our goal and mission is to build affordable housing for people who are experiencing chronically homelessness. And so they will no longer be homeless. And so that is our goal and effort. And so the purpose for me today is to inform you and see if you have questions. We are applying for a housing trust fund grant from the Department of Commerce. That'll be due in the middle of September. And so part of our responsibility is come and present to you and give you information in terms of probably how this affects and may affect schools and all of that, or the communities. We have purchased 2.2 acres of land behind Milroy Park at 16th and Lincoln, zoned R3, and the city classifies our small tiny house, small community of multi-housing, and so that fits that, if that's a piece. We're just about 1,000 feet from Roosevelt Elementary School as the crow flies, so we're kind of figuring where that is. So we are working with the Office of Rural and Farm Worker Housing. Doug Bommersbach is here, and they are doing the lead and working with us in terms of making this application, because they've done this for numerous organizations and know what they're doing. I'm glad the word for the month is tenacious. I'm experiencing that as we have worked for a number of years to move forward on this project. I think is important in developing our community and betterment of our community and people who live here. And so tenaciousness is part of what is required. So let me fill you in real quickly on what this is about. I don't want to take too long. We're looking at, so I think some of you have a map. You can see on one side is the Google view, and I outlined the area. And then on the back of it is not the final drawing, but close to what we hope we will be building. So we're looking at hopefully building 29 small houses with a larger community building. 19 of these units will be 240 square feet for single adults, one person, and 10 units are going to be 280 square feet for couples, a person who is ADA, or maybe a single parent and one child. They will all be, some will be duplex together, most of them will be standalone. They will all be built to full housing code, and think of a small studio apartment. There will be a bathroom, shower, kitchenette, bedroom, storage, air conditioning, heating, air conditioning, a doorway. You've got a porch on the front. You're going to be able to put flowers around it. So it'll be a small home. In their gated community, the larger building will have laundry, a meeting room, management rooms, gathering outside gathering space. Sunrise Outreach Center here in Yakima is going to be the management organization that's going to be manage this on a daily basis. They have David Hansen, who operates that, helped start Camp Hope. He also did the extreme winter weather shelters a number of years ago. He has a lot of experience in terms of working with this population. It will be a low barrier community, but we will have definitely rules and regulations in terms of how we are going to live and be together in this community to hold each other accountable. In terms of that, I'll say more in a little bit. So how this may impact the Yakima School District, we don't know for sure who all will become part of residents to begin with. There is a possibility of maybe 1 to 5 children, something like that. It depends on who applies and all that. So minimal impact in terms of the schools directly at this point. So we will be taking people who are at Camp Hope, people who are in transitional housing, people who may be on the streets who applied, who are ready to move in and move forward in their lives, and that. We will have rules and regulations, I said, and the safety of the residents is primary for us, as well as the surrounding neighborhoods and the citizens of the community, especially those around Milroy Park. So that's number one for us. So rules will be enforced. So it'll be a balance of screening in terms of people who are ready to move into housing, but also safety in terms of how's best for the whole community. So we'll be working on that, and there will be a screening process that we'll be going through in terms of that. If there are people who should not be living in that type of a neighborhood, we'll be doing our best to check that so that everybody is safe, those who live there, as well as the neighbors and the children around there. So that's going to be primary for us. So our mission is to help move people out of homelessness who are ready to move forward in their lives and to stabilize their lives. Housing is primary. Secondary is support services. And we will be working with other agencies in town to do the case managed support services. We're not going to try to duplicate what is already being done well in the community. We want to build the housing. We want to collaborate with other organizations in town to provide the support services that are needed for them to be successful in terms of moving forward and stabilizing their lives. And we hope to build and trust to build within that community a safe, caring, supportive community so they can support one another being in this small village. The phrase we're using now is moving away from tiny houses to using small cottages, because there's a lot of confusion between what is a small house or a tiny house. And so we're using cottages. This is a house in the full sense of the word in terms of sleeping, eating, sanitation, all of that type of thing, but in a supportive community. So that's in a nutshell what we're trying to do, and wanted to share that with you so you can be informed of that, and we can give the Department of Commerce this outline agenda that we're on there, so we're fulfilling one of our responsibilities for the state. So do you have any questions?
Come on. Any questions from board members? David, I may have missed it. Did you say that there will be wraparound services available to the residents here?
Yeah, support services, yes.
Good.
What I found in terms of looking at this, even though it is permanent supportive housing, and this is what the Department of Commerce wants us to be building in terms of this, we cannot require or mandate that they have case management. You can't, so they have the freedom to say yes and no, but we will be encouraging strongly and supporting. We are getting minimals of understanding with like neighborhood health and Trust and other places that will be working with them, saying that we will work with our people who come here and we will continue the support services. So, Sunrise Outreach also has case management experience as well. So yes, we will be offering and encouraging and working with other agencies in town to provide support services. We're even working, for instance, talking with Salvation Army Church that has support services. So how can we use what's in the neighborhood and what's in the community to help make this a strong community, and all the support services that we can give to help people move forward in their lives.
Excellent.
So we're being tenacious about this. So, so thank you for your time and for listening to this. And we hope you can be supportive and encouraging of us. And here in the community, we want to make this a better community. We want to help people move their lives forward when they're stuck and there's no place for go, because we all know there's no housing in town for people who are low income that they can rent. And so we'll be only charging 30% of whatever income they have. That's the maximum that we'll charge. And we'll be having to get other funds to cover all of the expenses of things. So that's where we'll be coming from, trying to make that work.
Will the residents in this project be time limited?
No.
Good.
No, permanent supportive housing means permanent. They can stay as long as they wish. There is no time limit. So transitional housing may have 2 years, but permanent is as long as it's working for them and it's working, they can stay within the rules and guidelines and they find it helpful. They can stay as long as they wish.
We need a lot of little projects like this around town.
Yes, we do. And this is a different style that's never been done here in Yakima or a central part of the state. It's happening in other places. So it's going to be a different model of housing that is working, and we want it to supplement what others that we have. We need to expand our housing in this area. We have a problem with homelessness, not near as huge as other cities, but it's manageable. We can work it as we work together as a community. We can make a difference.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Trevor.
Yeah, Director Rice, I'd like to see if Dr. Rodriguez might have a question, being from our Teaching and Learning Department.
Thank you for indulging me. Dr. Gray is messaging him. Can I talk, please? Mr. Helseth, I just want to say I'm new to Yakima. I've been here for a year, and this is one of the things I just really love about this community.
Mhm.
I think this is a wonderful project, and I would be happy to connect with you about maybe some ways that as a district we could partner.
Okay.
We have career technical education programs in construction.
Okay. Right.
Might be a great opportunity for our students to be part of building out the site. We also, as you mentioned, it's very near Roosevelt, so I'm sure there's lots of things we'd have to discuss, but I could think about volunteer opportunities with crossing and, a variety of things. And I just think if we want this to be an embedded community,
Mhm.
that means really connecting them with our schools that are in that area.
Okay. Thank you very much. What I'd like to do is set up a time to visit with you here in the near future, and we can, flesh that out some more. Okay. Thank you.
Great opportunities, both sides.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you, David, for being
Thank you.
here today.
Thank
and
you
for
very much.
telling us about this. Next, we had talked as a board when the preliminary budget was presented to us last week. We talked about we're required by law to do a public hearing on the budget for next school year. And typically we've done that at the same meeting where we approve the budget. And this year we're changing that up a little bit. We're going to have that preliminary hearing at today's meeting, and then we'll be approving the budget at our meeting on the 16th. So that folks, if there's anyone here that wishes to speak at this public hearing, we have an opportunity to hear them and to think about what their comments are. And before we jump into approving the budget, which we're required to do by the 31st of August. So today, we will be having that public hearing. The budget was posted on the website on July 11th. Is that correct? July 8th. Okay. And so that was available to the public on July 8th. It's been up there since then. Last week, Jake and Becky came before us and with a PowerPoint presentation that I think is up there now on the preliminary budget, kind of an overview PowerPoint. And so today we're going to do the public hearing, and folks who wish to comment on the budget are not limited to today. They can contact Becky or Jake or Dr. Green or board members with questions, and anytime between now and the 16th, which is when it's on our agenda for approval. So do you have anything to add on that? No? Okay, so I will open the public hearing for the preliminary budget for 2022 to 2023. If we could note the time, Barb. Is there any member of the public who's here who wishes to speak to the board about the preliminary budget for next school year? Well, I'm not going to wait forever. So since no one is here, are there any board members who wish to take advantage of this time and have their comments on public record for the budget? Raymond.
Sure. Since I missed the last meeting where we discussed this, so I do have some thoughts, and maybe the information could be provided to me at a later date. But one of the things that jumps out to me, I know it's this way every year, the 4-year projection, I think page 9, it always makes me nervous, even though we say that with history, we don't usually end up that way, but it goes from 30 million ending fund balance down to like 2%. So I just wondered if you could talk about that a little bit to ease my anxiety, if you don't mind doing that. And that'll be my first question.
Let me get my notes.
While Ms. Nissen is gathering that, we did speak about it a little bit last meeting, Director, and the negative fund balance or the numbers or the reserves as they go down. That's pretty common across the state of Washington because we use publicly available data. So we use what OSPI has for inflation, and then we make conservative expenditure estimates. So for the most part, if you saw four-year trends across the state, all across different school districts, you would see the same pattern where we don't want to assume that you are going to go out for a larger levy or that we're going to make reductions in the future. So everything is just pretty straight line going forward with expenditures outgrowing your revenues a little bit. So that is a very common thing to see. And we touched upon it a little bit. So in the near term, the numbers are way, way closer to reality than when you get out there. The crystal ball is pretty murky, similar to how the legislature does a 4-year, and we know how great their 4-year forecasts have been. So.
Did you have further? I don't really have.
So I shouldn't be worried then that we need to make some changes next year or the next 2 year, 3, 4 years. Is that what you're telling me? Or we can't see that far, right? To determine that. Okay. So, I'm just curious about the priorities of this budget. I know that two priorities were outlined. One was the after-school learning recovery programs and summer programs. I'm just wondering if you can talk about the other priorities that maybe I missed in the presentation. And I know that there was a comment in there about aligning to the strategic plan. So are we aligning to all the items in the strategic plan? Or are we taking a few that we're going to prioritize? So I'm just kind of wondering about if you could speak to that.
Sure. And are you talking the strengths and opportunities?
Well, what are the priorities in general? And that's where I'm assuming the priorities are located under the opportunities.
Right. So the strengths of the budget, as reported in here, is the adequate fund balance to meet the board policy 1000.2.3. We're continuing alignment to the strategic plan. The Davis Auditorium remodel is funded. And then we continue our increased collaboration and transparency during the budget development process.
I guess I'm wondering what priorities in terms of, what is our number one thing that we want to accomplish next year, I guess? Is it increase test scores? The recovery? I guess I'm just trying to figure that piece out. What are we using the budget to really accomplish next year?
Sure. So I think maybe one of the questions you're asking was the second part of the presentation last week when we had the breakdown of the funding that we're receiving nationally and how we're aligning that to our strategic plan. I was trying to find it really quickly, but it's in last week's, and I couldn't pull it up as like I would have liked to. If memory serves correctly, we broke down, we did break it down into 10 different buckets that we were focusing on with our federal funding, and we were aligning that closely to what our past expenditures have been over historically. What we found is if you look at the actual numbers of where the spending has occurred in the last couple of years during the pandemic, is even though we had anticipated maintaining the same percentage of expenditures during that time, given the focus on social emotional welfare, mental health, safety and security in the current climate of our country, and also then the restart of school and what that looked like coming back from online learning, distance learning to hybrid learning, is that we've spent a significant amount of that portion in those areas. So I believe we're around close to about 50% of our expenditures so far are just in those two categories, based on the ESSER funding, the federal funding that's coming our way. So we're using that as a guide to help us look at what we've done in the past, but we also recognize that we're in a situation where what we've done in the past isn't exactly what we can do in this current reality, and that we are forced to focus in areas that have taken us away from, to a small degree, from that instructional piece, but that is using ESSER funding. So we're still investing a significant amount of funding, and I would say even more so than we have in past years in the area of teaching and learning. So what I believe is being asked is more around not the budget projection going forward, but of our monthly budget and where the funding has gone and what that's looking like. Is that somewhat in the area that you were? Keep asking. We'll get there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned some things there, the safety and security. So those to me are priorities for last year, that we are the last year and the last 2-3 years, the restarting schools. But I guess what are we really concentrating on next year? What is it that what are the needs of the district that we're going to really focus on?
Well, absolutely. So I think if it's a broader conversation, which we could certainly engage in all of that right now. But if we're talking about just in the area of teaching and learning, for example, we're focusing our efforts towards the 3 levers that I mentioned earlier. So we're talking about investing heavily in professional learning communities. We know that by bringing staff together around common goal and analyzing data and making sure that we're making the adjustments in a timely manner, that we can change instruction, and that's going to be better for our students, especially at a time where they have been lagging over the last, and this has been across the state. So it's not just specific to Yakima. So we have professional learning communities. We have another lever of induction, mentoring, and coaching that we're investing heavily in. I was at the opening today where Christina Carlson, and you all know Christina Carlson, she's just a ball of fire. She has been the only person addressing our new teachers, serving as a mentor to them over previous years. Last year, we added a second in Megan Anderson Riley, and this year we have 2 more. So we have gone from a team of 1 serving what are 99 new teachers this year to 4, which allows them to get into classrooms, focus on the strategies that are necessary for them to become great teachers. As Dr. Rodriguez shared this morning, you're not born a great teacher. It's not something that's going to happen the first year. It's something that they're going to have to continually work at. So that's another investment that we're making. So that would be the second lever. And then the third lever that we have is around principal supervision. As you can see, we have a wonderful principal supervisor there waving. That's her princess wave, Dr. Ellis, who serves our secondary administrators. And if you think back a couple of years ago, we had Pam Onsink, and we had Clint Endicott, who were serving as the only 2. And so we've expanded that to 3, and there's been some creative ways of allowing them to focus on supporting our principals, but also then we still have all of that work that was happening prior under Executive Director Sean McGeaney. And so he had multiple areas that are now being divided among our principal supervisors as well, so that they can focus on meeting those objectives that we have in the different programs, but also then focus more intently on our principals. And we recognize that they have to become instructional leaders. They cannot be in a reactive mode. We have to convert them to being proactive actors in this arena of instructional leadership. And just like with our teachers who have to recognize and have that support in place, we've invested in 3 individuals that are very skilled in their own right to focus on that. So if we take just the teaching and learning area, those are our 3 areas this year that we're focusing heavily on. In fact, I think you're aware as a board that we are headed to Seattle next week for a 3-day, and we're taking 205 members of our staff to participate in this. I think it's almost unheard of to have that many individuals from a district focused on specific training investment, and it's around professional learning communities. And aside from that, we will be engaging with an ongoing opportunity to have coaching along in that process to make sure that we're not just bringing teachers together to talk about data, but we're doing something with that that actually changes instruction. So that's one example in the area of teaching and learning. And we haven't even, talked about the areas around dual language, which is obviously it's one of our goals as well. Early learning and the investment that we've made there in reconfiguring Discovery Lab into a Discovery Learning Center for our students. So we're really focused around still the strategic plan, and thank goodness that the community has rallied around and pointed us in that direction. But it's been our North Star in how we're looking at the expenditures that we have and what we're focused on. So I could go on in our facilities. We have a significant investment now projecting forward and looking at a potential bond and levy. We have a levy in the future, but a potential bond, and to get to where we need to be and prove to our community that we are great stewards of their funding, which thank you, Becky. I mean, I think this is a great feather in the cap of our district, along with the 3 refinancings of our bonds previously that have saved millions and millions of dollars. We're making sure that we live up to our promise of renovating the Davis Auditorium. That in itself, when we started that process, I believe we were projected around $4 million, and we set aside $6 million, 6.5, 6.2. He's laughing right now because he knows where we're going with this. And in case we had overages, well, pandemic hit, supply chain issues, and we were able to lock in finally at a little over 10 million. So that has really hurt in recognizing that that's a commitment that we have, and we are going to live up to that commitment. There's another $4 million that was not part of that plan. So you can kind of see how all of those expenditures start adding up. And we've done a tremendous job over the last couple of years in the work of Anthony Murrieta and overseeing maintenance and part of operations, but maintenance and grounds, and making sure that we have started to address some of those deferred maintenance opportunities. So you'll see some of the buildings that have been painted, the asphalt that's been put in, new asphalt that's been put in, and you'll see several buildings this year that are painted over the summer, that have been painted over the summer, and hopefully we'll be able to then show our community that we do have need in some certain areas, and we'll be able to garner their trust in having them approve a bond in the next couple of years.
Thank you. That helps.
Thank you.
Tremendously.
Yeah,
So thank
and
you.
I'd be happy to go into other areas. It's just you've hit up on a passion, because I think when you look at Pat McCarthy, our auditor, coming in, and the recognition of the tremendous work that Becky and her team did, it's really a result of hiring great people and allowing them to shine in their areas. And I think we've seen that across the board, from Dr. Ellis to our entire executive team. So we're moving in the right direction, and I'm glad that you're asking these questions, because it allows us opportunity that we don't typically have to brag about the ground that we've attained in these last 3 years.
Well, that helps me, because you outlined the vision, right? The strategies and the outcomes for next year, and that helps me to as we go through the process of approving the budget. So
Yeah.
really appreciate
Thank you.
it. Thank you.
You have other questions, Raymond?
No, I don't.
Okay. Anyone else?
I would follow up with that real quickly. Just, I think that, as a member of the community, I get lots of questions everywhere I go about the school district. Everyone has something to say about the district. I don't get any questions about the management of the taxpayer dollar here. Some people might obviously say we give too much money to schools. Other people don't say that. But I don't have anybody nitpicking the way our finances are run. So I want to commend that department for that exact reason. I think what comes up, maybe this alludes a little bit to what Director Navarro was talking about, is that there is an expectation that we have the ability to talk about our results. And that's one of the areas that we have, in my limited experience, not done a very good job of talking about, what's really going well. Let's have those bullet points ready so that we can relay those in public, whether we're standing in line at the dry cleaner or we're, in the express checkout arguing with the machine at Walmart, or whatever it is we're doing. When we talk to somebody else who's asking those questions, we really have to do a better job of explaining what we're doing well and doing right, so that people see the value. in what's going on here, because there's a lot of value going on here. And I just feel like this is maybe a catch-all conversation where it comes in because it's all the money, right? And I just feel like there's so much that we can talk about to explain that as we go forward, that we got to kind of focus on that.
Thank you, Ryan.
I really appreciate both of those comments. I think you've given us, by calling that out and being the ears in the community and mouthpiece for the community, and recognizing that we can do a better job of telling our own story, gives us something to consider. And I don't disagree. As the saying goes, if you're not telling your story, somebody else is. And so I think back to how many elevator talking points have we given or provided to the board? Not a lot. So there's been over the last several years, again, I referred to reactive versus proactive, and I'm excited about this move forward. I feel like we're exiting that reactive phase that has had kind of a stranglehold on many districts throughout the state. And we'll get those lined up and do a much better job of telling our story and getting those points in your hand. So thank you.
Okay, if there are no other comments, I'm going to close the public hearing. Barbara, if you could just note the time for the minutes, that'd be great. Okay, thank you very much. That was great conversation. Next on our agenda, we have approval to increase the current contract with Kinderhofen Partners LLC for the 2021-22 school year in the amount of $95,000. Dr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Board President Rice, members of the board. This is very similar to the stack of approvals I brought you last week. So this is just one additional that was an extension of the funds needed for last school year. So again, this is for the 21-22 school year. We needed additional nursing services for special education students as identified in their IEP, and we're unable to hire enough nurses to fulfill those duties. So the original contract was approved for $462,000. The actual expense came in at $557,000. So I'm here to ask for approval to up that expense amount so we can make good on our agreement with Kinderhofen Partners.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Dr. Rodriguez? Okay. The board is being asked to grant approval to increase the current contract with Kinderhofen Partners LLC from $462,000 to $557,000. Kinderhofen Partners LLC provided the district additional nursing services for special education students for the 2021 to 22 school year. This additional $95,000 allows us to close out the 2021 to 22 school year fiscal year. I would entertain a motion for approval as requested.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ryan, seconded by Norm. Is there any discussion?
The only discussion I would have with this is it seems we've had maybe 3 or 4 of these contracts where we ran over what was budgeted for those contracts. Is that going to be reflected in the next year's budget so that we're not kind of playing catch up with those contracts?
I would sincerely hope that that's not the case going in. But we have a new executive director of the department, so her and I will be working closely around that issue.
Okay.
In addition, sometimes we don't know until they're here what special needs our students might have. So sometimes it's just a surprise. You know, they show up and surprise, we're here, and this is what we need.
Well, sure, and I recognize that especially in the area of special education,
Yeah.
sometimes you have students that enter the district or they have needs that are very expensive to serve, and we don't necessarily anticipate all those, and that's just the nature of special education and special needs students.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Carries 4-0. Thank you. Next, we have the second opportunity for public comment. This is an opportunity for the public to comment on any item that is not on the agenda. Barb, do we have anyone signed in for this second opportunity? Okay. All right. Mr. Superintendent, do we have a need for executive session?
We do.
For
Potential litigation,
how long?
20 minutes.
Okay. All right, I need a motion to move into executive session for 20 minutes for the purpose of litigation.
So moved.
Second.
Who was, Raymond, okay.
First, second.
Moved by Norm, seconded by Raymond. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? It carries 4-0. Where are we meeting?
We'll meet in this room, so 5 minutes would be good to just
Okay.
close the
Take a
wall.
break for 5 minutes, and then folks will move on with the rest that need to or want to can move on with the rest of their day, and we will reconvene in 5 minutes. Is there anything else for the good of the order? All right. Thank you very much. We are meeting again next week, Monday at 8 a.m. for our retreat. Thank you. Have a good week.